What can people in faith-based communities, so mothers like myself, are the ones who are out there sort of on the ground,
right.
Trying to break in, trying to get schools that are faith-based that are the very schools, the very institutions that we belong,
right.
And trying to knock down doors and fight for our kids.
Right.
What else do you think that we can do as a community to build more awareness, spread the word, break down these barriers?
Well, I think there's two things. I think, first of all, it's very tough for these schools because the underlying financial support for educating children with special needs, the tax dollars that we all pay, they don't get, and so it's very expensive and it's very difficult, and it's, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but I do believe that private and faith-based organizations that want to educate children with special challenges and who need tailored kinds of learning experiences, there ought to be some way we can bridge that gap where government resources are there to help them. Short of that, it's a prodigious fundraising challenge to add these kinds of things. But on the other hand, that's what they're there for. So you can't really use the money as an excuse, because if you preach the gospel, if you preach Torah, if you preach Quran, you must live.
It's an imperative.
It's an imperative. It's not an optional. Excuse me. So I don't think there are any. There are a lot of excuses, but no good excuses.
Right.
So we have to continue to preach the gospel in the language of St. Francis. Preach it, but if necessary, use words. More than words, we have to use example, and we have to bring our children to these educators. We have to bring the financial resources to these educators, and we have to invite them to think differently. I think all great social change movements have at least two things. One is they have a powerful army of advocates, and that's where moms and dads and people with intellectual challenges themselves are gaining in their own confidence and power, and that's critically important. In this day and age, they also need data, and I think we will get increasingly strong data about why this is an important mistake to exclude, why it's an important mistake to exclude. And then they need a picture of success. And so if we've got the army of workers and we've got the data to support the change and we've got a vision for where we want to be, I think we'll win. We collectively will win. And I think those pieces are all coming together. So I wish there was a shorter cut. I don't have that in mind. But I hope from the point of view of the Catholic tradition, which is the one I emerged from, I hope this Pope, who has been a preacher, if you will, of the gospel as a challenge to include and welcome those who are excluded and felt to be unwelcome. I hope he will challenge Catholic educators to end this terrible mistake. And sometimes leaders can have unexpected and sweeping effect. So we can always hope that he or some other great leader will emerge who will help elevate the voices of moms like you and make it possible for there to be some more momentum around this long overdue change.
Right. The organization I told you about, the CLC Network, has done a great job within their geographic region, so in Western Michigan and the states surrounding it. And so with me starting the program, and it took considerable resources to do so, and I have a huge investment there, and luckily my company will also match dollar for dollar. So, I've sort of...
Look at all this investment.
Yeah.
Investment everywhere here.
Yes, absolutely. To do this, and so part of this is the documentary that I'm trying to make, but also I feel like we're chipping away at things. So I've started with Alma Heights, and there's two other schools in the Bay Area that are interested in doing beta models for the upcoming school year. And so I think my challenge is just trying to find a way to elevate this to a level where there's greater momentum, that there's more interest, that it's not just 2 schools a year or in
Right.
a particular geographic region.
Right.
That it sort of sweeps not just the United States, but you probably know this in other countries. The stigma is I think in the United States we've progressed in that area in terms of institutionalizing people. I mean, people are included in communities, maybe not fully included, but in other countries, they're still hidden away. And so how can we make this a wider movement, change the world, if you will? So.